Now, our next session offers you the valuable opportunity to ask the experts any questions you may have on the subject of working within large corporates, how to gain credibility beyond your technology. Our illustrious panel of experts consists of Dr. Giulio Toscani, Professor and Academic Director of AI for Business at ESADE, Lucian, hope he's there, Senior Innovation Researcher at Nissan Research Center, and Lars Vestergaard, you saw him before, Market Connect of Oracle for Startups. And here to ensure order is maintained, please welcome your moderator, Katherine Luchaninova, CEO at Coptimum AI. Over to you, Katherine.
Thank you, Joel. Hi, everyone. I'm feeling very pleased and honored to be moderating this panel because working with corporates is something that is crucial and very important for all the startups and small companies that are trying to make the name for themselves. And the whole name of this panel, which is gaining the credibility beyond your technology, is something that matters to all of us, especially now during these troubling times of COVID. And to kick it off, I'd like to start discussing, maybe you could give us a good example on a successful cooperation between a small company and a corporate. Lars, would you like to start?
I can certainly begin on that. I have many examples. Some are heavy-duty AI, some are, I suppose, technology or solution-based. If anything, then the example I would like to give you is one that touches the heart, and ever so often that is quite important. And in an earlier session today, I also touched on the SDGs, on everything relating to sustainability. So I work with a startup called Circular that with blockchain tracks a mineral that is in batteries, or whether it's a mobile phone that we all use, so we can all relate to that, or it's a car battery, and with electric cars now winning a lot, how do we make sure that cobalt, which is a toxic material mined by child labor in Central Africa, in the Congo and DRC, and it kills the children that work in those conditions of mining it, how can we make sure that with technology, that with blockchain, that traceability of that and recycling that in some digital twin context is happening? I know that that is not a beautiful AI context, but we can apply that as well. But somehow that appeal to, if we can do things that we all can relate to, because we are all consumers of a mobile phone battery. When it's something that touches you, I love to see how that happens. And they have worked with Daimler, they have worked with big handset manufacturers for the sake of getting this done. So a small startup that is about to change the world, nothing short of.
Thank you. Giulio, do you have any company that you would like to use as an example of a successful cooperation?
I mean, we have decided to use for our corporate campus a tracking system to understand people's behavior by using their data, being GDPR compliant, but just to connect what they were serving about their kind of psychotest that they were accepting to do with their movement within the campus. So I was searching for a company to do this. Actually, I was searching internally, and then there was this small one who just won a prize, and I saw it just by pure coincidence. And actually, I was struck because the way that they came to me was really, they really did the homeworks, because they really knew which one was my problem, and they were already offering a kind of solution for it, saying that the accuracy of the solution, which was not 100%, and actually why the solution was better than actually cheaper ones that I knew that were available. So I was really amazed of how really they had a kind of a right approach to sales. It was beyond artificial intelligence. It was really about basic selling skills that all the others didn't have.
That's an interesting one. Thank you. Lucian, great to have you with us. But I think we cannot hear you. Okay, let's try again. Still nothing. Let's see if that works. Oh.
That's a solution.
Okay, well, let's see if he'll come back, and we'll just circle back to this perspective on the matter. So this is very interesting. And well, since both of you, you're working with the startups and you're helping them to grow, do you know which tech streams are of most interest right now when it comes to the expansion? So I know from personal experience that corporates are quite hesitant when it comes to startups or small companies that are approaching them and trying to work with them. But there should be some streams of technology that everyone are looking for. And obviously this has changed over the past 3 or even 5 years. So maybe you can give us an overview of how it was and what it is now from your perspective. Lucian, would you like to give it a try? I hope you're with us again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay. So let me spend two minutes on the success story. Let me tell you about this small company in Zaragoza. They're called BitBrain. Then it just happened that I was trying to start this. It was a very wide research project around the world with university in Canada, some universities in Switzerland, some people in Germany. They're working with us, and we are looking for a new headrest. If you remember the story with brain to vehicle, with an AI that surveys brain activity in real time, and we help cooperation between AI that controls a vehicle with the human being itself. So these guys in Zaragoza, it was pretty similar with Giulio's scenario though. They're really at the beginning. So what they had 2 small pieces of metal as sensors, and they were saying, listen, this is the material that you need in order to get very good signals from your brain. And they had some algorithms also based on working behind this metal part as well. But the idea is that they were at the beginning. They had their story, but they were very, very flexible to go our story as well. So they are more or less medical oriented company, but they accepted to work for us for, it was 5-6 years project in a row for industrial application. So I was impressed by this flexibility and this way of going a bit sideways from their business plan, as long as they would also gain some know-how in while working with us. Then you already, I think you moved to your second question around, I think it's changes in trends.
Yes, I was asking if you could give us an example on how did the interest of corporate changed regarding the technological streams, and how it was a couple of years ago, how it is now. What are they looking for?
So for automotive, there was a period of time, at least in this AI world, that we were catching up. We had to catch up a lot, even though we are saying we are trying to become, for example, leaders in autonomous driving. So we built this whole lab of AI for driving. But the idea is that once you have this let's say competencies in one area, you cannot necessarily apply it to anything else. So for quite a few years, it was not only us, it was most of the AI community focusing on building AI to replace the human being, which means that you don't need to look at a human being, you look at the outside and you build an automatic system that does something for you. I work hard, and we've been one of the companies that we shifted a little bit faster from AI replacing the human being to cooperative AI, to an AI that can work with the human being together. So then this is a completely different, not only the approach, but the technologies that you need to look at a human being in real time. You need to understand what the human being does, and to get the output of reading the actions of the human being with the output of a purely autonomous or automatic function. And then I see more and more companies that are coming towards this, are moving not on. I'm not that close to explainable AI, for example. I accept an AI that works whatever by itself, as long as it can have interaction methodologies with the human being. So the main shift that I see lately is this shifting from replacing the human being with AI towards building cooperative AI. And this is also an area that we are really looking continuously for new partners and building new projects.
Great, thank you. Lars, so from point of view of the startups that are going for Oracle for Startups, do you have any insights on how it changed over the past years?
Certainly. I mentioned earlier.
Lucian, I can only see you at the moment.
Okay. I heard you, Katherine. So, Giulio, not sure what your session is. Should I answer the question, Katherine? And then we hope Giulio gets back in. So, I've certainly seen that sustainability, the SDGs, are super important. I've heard that with people in the industry, that whenever they broker together with me, that dialogue between startups, getting whether it's reduction of O2 or just the sustainability agenda, that is super important. I know that when we as a corporate need to sell software to large banks, etc., they will ask us to showcase that we have reduced our CO2, that we are sticking with sustainability targets. And I'm seeing a tremendous amount of startups operating in that, and I think that is utterly unique. And the difference, if anything, is that there used to be a different scale to things. I know I always appeal to value and money and whatever have you, but I think there's a lot more heart in a lot of what the startups are doing now, and that's a change. I'm seeing a lot of HR startups that focus on how can we get the reskilling of staff quickly, or how can we get mentoring, or how can we get people better together. So the people component, I think more so than sell more, perform better, the people component, I think, is a big change and a good change.
Okay, thank you. Giulio, I hope you can see and hear us clearly now.
Yes.
So from your perspective, since you are working with one of the leading business schools, from what you've seen, how has the technology, request for technology changed over the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, this is a question I can really struggle to answer, because I've seen so many cases that really it depends on which sector you are talking about. Because, for example, in my previous corporate experience, there was really simple machine learning, mainly based on optimization. And this is what I've been seeing most of the companies that were proposing, was really, really basic. And only recently, I just got to have an interaction with a deep learning one, that was a specific project. So I don't think I really have professionally the experience to answer this. Academically, that would be too theoretical.
Okay. Well, then in this case, I propose we move to our next question, which I think is the most fun one. And I think it's something that all the startups would be, and small companies would be very happy to learn about. But if you could give just one advice for these companies who are struggling with reaching corporates on a possible cooperation, what would it be? Giulio?
Yeah, so there I have lots of experience, especially because we had such a bureaucratical, huge barrier to get just to propose a project. You had to pay 3,000 euros just to enter the platform. So imagine how difficult it was to have, depending on the project, especially on pilot ones, starting ones, which are especially at the beginning, just to test, was really, really a big things. Then there is another big challenge. The purchasing, once, even if you decide to enter the platform, it takes forever, and it's really, really long. And then when you are in and the things are kind of set, then there is the IT legacy that normally doesn't match with the AI new tools. So there is a talent, there is a culture that clashes with the new incorporation that you want to do sometimes. So there is this other kind of really difficult things. And then the level of customization has to be really, really specific and sometimes require some specific skills. Is really an industry domain that you need to manage. So I think these are the main barriers that when you want to work with a corporate, you have to keep in mind.
Thank you. Lucian, would you like to pitch in?
It's close. Automotive industry is still very slow. Very slow. It still takes 2 years to build a new car. So if a small company has a proposal in terms of software, it might be easier. It might be just a few months until you get something started. But the moment you have some piece of hardware, no matter how small it is, you need to understand that working with, at least in automotive industry, it will take quite a few years until you can really make a clear revenue out of that product. So it takes a lot of, let's say, patience, and you need to have quite some flexibility and openness to work with industry. So, for example, if you start from a research level interaction, then you have many people who understand what you're talking. You as a startup mainly in AI. But then you will have a very reduced revenue. It will be small projects that you can do. And it will take quite a few years until you have something as a real product, and you'll have a lot of revenue. If you're on the other side, you go at the end and you make a proposal, please use this in your cars for the next year, then you will need to speak the language not of a person who speaks the same as you, but of a product planner. You need to have a product that is very close to what the person this company needs at the beginning. So what I have from now is success stories. Is the main idea is flexibility and thinking on long term, not thinking on making quick big wins in interaction with, at least with automotive industry.
Thank you. Lars?
There are many ways to get into a corporate. If like a startup I was talking to on Monday that want to do brain to text, imagine the AI needed for brain to text. I worked with BT futurologists 20 years ago talking about getting internet into your brain. Now we are having scientists that work on brain to text. Love it. Something spacey like that belongs in a spacey part and needs a spacey way in to a corporate. That's not your normal entrant. My best advice to startups is actually go through the accelerator of the corporate. Most corporates now have a venture capital arm and an accelerator arm. They listen to what the business wants. They match that by dragging in startups to mirror what the demand is from the business. If you go to that accelerator, they are very likely to know business departments and business units and individuals who are demanding what, with a bit of luck, that startup has to offer. So really think about an optimal way in. That is my advice. And the optimal way in, tangibly for me, is through the accelerator.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining this. From my part, from what I can say, Coptimum AI in general, it was born as a subsidiary of an exclusive IT consultancy from California, and we know ourselves how it is to try to work with corporates. And all these advices that you have given, they're very valuable, and it's true that you have to be patient. You have to find the optimal way of going in, just because knocking on all the doors sometimes will not work. Just take your time, find the person who would be most interested in what you have to offer, and go for it. And well, in general, thank you so much, gentlemen. It was a pleasure. I hope that everyone else who listened to it also enjoyed it as much as I did. And well, Joel, I think we're back to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, there I am. Thanks, everyone, for this great panel. Some very interesting points there. And Giulio and Lucian are now available to take your questions. So please follow them into the networking lounge and speaker Q&A room. The link to that room is going to be dropped now into the session chat on Hopin. We're taking a quick break and we'll be back with you shortly.